Weight loss has nothing to do with eating less. That sounds wrong, but it explains why so many people struggle even when they try hard. Almost everyone follows the same advice: cut calories, eat less, move more, yet the results stay slow or disappear after a few days. The real reason sits deeper inside the body, controlled by a single hormone that decides whether fat gets stored or burned, and it is probably the last thing most people think about. There is one powerful hormone quietly running the entire process, and once it stays high, the body holds on to fat no matter how disciplined someone tries to be. This is the hidden rule that changes everything. People blame their willpower, their routine, even their genetics, but very few realize that their body has been working against them the whole time. That is where this insulin trick comes in. Simple, overlooked, and incredibly effective when done the right way. In this video, you will learn how this hormone actually works, why common dieting habits keep it high all day, and the small shift that can push your body into fat burning mode much faster. You will understand why eating less alone often fails, why frequent meals slow down progress, and how a simple change in timing can unlock results that seemed impossible before. These are insights backed by real science, yet rarely explained in a way that actually makes sense. And here is the part most people miss. Even foods labeled as healthy can quietly block fat loss if they keep this hormone active. Even small snacks between meals can reset the entire process without you realizing it. This is why so many people feel stuck even when they believe they are doing everything right. Once you see this clearly, your entire approach to weight loss starts to shift. Stay with this video until the end because the final part will connect everything together and show you the exact change that separates slow results from fast, consistent progress. Missing that piece means going back to the same cycle again and again, but understanding it puts you in control. You are about to see weight loss from a completely different angle, one that makes things simpler instead of harder. Welcome to our channel where we break down complex health ideas into simple, practical steps that actually work. Subscribe now and stay with us for more powerful insights like this. This one simple insulin trick can completely change the way your body stores fat. And the strange part is how easy it is once you finally see it clearly. The body has its own system, always working in the background, deciding when to store energy and when to release it. Most people focus only on food quantity, counting calories, reducing portions, trying harder each day, yet something keeps blocking their progress. That hidden block is often insulin staying high for too long, quietly signaling the body to hold on to fat instead of burning it. Once this idea becomes clear, everything starts to feel less confusing. The constant struggle begins to make sense. The slow results, the sudden plateaus, the frustration after doing everything right, all of it connects back to this one factor. It is not about extreme discipline or pushing harder. It is about understanding timing, patterns, and how the body reacts to what you do throughout the day. When insulin stays elevated, fat burning simply does not happen the way people expect, no matter how clean the diet looks from the outside. What makes this even more surprising is how common daily habits keep this cycle going. Eating small meals all day, grabbing quick snacks, even choosing foods that seem healthy can keep insulin active from morning to night. The body never gets a real chance to switch into a state where it uses stored fat for energy. It stays in storage mode, and over time, that becomes the normal pattern. This is why so many people feel stuck, repeating the same routines without seeing real change. The difference begins when that pattern is broken in a simple, controlled way. When the body finally gets space between meals, when insulin levels begin to drop naturally, a shift starts to happen internally. Energy usage changes, hunger signals begin to stabilize, and the body moves closer to burning fat instead of storing it. This shift does not require complicated rules or extreme methods. It starts with awareness and a small adjustment that most people overlook. Still, very few people ever learn this properly. They continue to follow advice that keeps them trapped in the same cycle, believing they need to try harder instead of trying differently. That is where the real gap exists between effort and understanding, between doing more and doing it right. You start a new diet with full motivation, cutting down your portions, avoiding foods you enjoy, staying disciplined for a few days, and at first it feels like it is working. The scale begins to move, your confidence rises, and it finally seems like progress is happening. Then suddenly, everything slows down. The same effort that gave results in the beginning stops making a difference. Days turn into weeks, and the weight barely changes. That excitement fades and gets replaced with confusion. So you decide to push harder. You reduce your food even more, skip meals, try to stay stricter than before, hoping that doing more will fix the problem. But instead of better results, you feel more tired, more hungry, and more frustrated. The scale still does not move the way you expect. It starts to feel like your body is resisting every step you take. No matter how much effort you put in, the outcome stays the same. At that point, the blame quietly shifts toward yourself. You begin to think maybe your willpower is weak, maybe you are doing something wrong, or maybe your body is just different. You look at others who seem to lose weight faster and wonder why it feels so difficult for you. The cycle becomes mental as much as physical. Each failed attempt adds more doubt, making it harder to stay consistent the next time you try. What makes this even more frustrating is that on the surface, everything looks right. You are eating less, making better choices, avoiding obvious mistakes, yet the results do not match the effort. It creates a disconnect that is hard to explain. The truth is, the issue is not about how hard you are trying. It goes deeper than that, inside the body, where certain signals control how energy is used and stored. When those internal signals are out of balance, especially when insulin remains elevated for long periods, the body holds on to fat even when you are eating less. It slows things down without you realizing it, making progress feel impossible. This hidden response keeps repeating, turning every new attempt into the same experience where effort increases but results stay limited. Your body does not simply respond to calories the way most people believe. There is a deeper system at work driven by hormones that control how energy is used, stored, and released throughout the day. Calories matter, but they are only part of the story. Hormones decide what those calories actually do inside your body. They act like signals, constantly telling your body when to store energy and when to use it. Without understanding the system, weight loss starts to feel random and unpredictable, even when the effort is consistent. Among all these hormones, one stands out as the key player in fat loss, and that is insulin. It works quietly in the background every time you eat, especially when your meals include carbohydrates or sugar. As food enters your system, insulin rises to help manage blood sugar levels, moving energy into your cells. This process is essential for survival, but it also comes with a powerful side effect. While insulin is active, your body shifts into storage mode, holding on to energy instead of burning it. This is where the real control happens. Insulin acts like a switch that determines whether your body is in fat storing mode or fat burning mode. When insulin levels stay elevated, your body focuses on storing energy, including fat. It slows down the release of stored fat because it already senses enough energy is available. On the other hand, when insulin levels drop, the body begins to access stored fat and use it as fuel. This shift changes how your body responds to everything you do, from eating patterns to daily activity. The important detail here is timing and frequency. Every time you eat, insulin rises. When meals are spaced closely together, or when snacking becomes a regular habit, insulin stays elevated for longer periods. The body rarely gets a chance to lower those levels and switch into fat burning mode. This creates a pattern where fat storage becomes more common than fat burning, even if total food intake seems controlled. Understanding insulin in this way starts to reveal why certain habits lead to better results than others. It explains why two people eating similar amounts of food can experience completely different outcomes. The difference lies in how often insulin is triggered and how long it stays active inside the body. The way your body handles fat follows a very simple pattern, even though it often feels complicated from the outside. When insulin levels rise, your body moves into a state where storing energy becomes the priority. Every time you eat, especially foods that raise blood sugar quickly, Insulin increases to manage that energy. While this is happening, your body is focused on taking that incoming fuel and storing it for later use. Part of that storage process includes turning excess energy into fat and keeping existing fat locked away. It is a protective mechanism designed to make sure energy is always available when needed. When insulin levels drop, a different process begins. The body starts looking for stored energy because there is no constant supply coming in from food. This is when fat burning becomes active. Stored fat is broken down and used as fuel to keep your body running. This shift does not require extreme effort or complicated strategies. It depends mainly on giving your body enough time without constant insulin spikes, so it can naturally move into this fat burning state. What makes this confusing for many people is how often insulin gets triggered throughout the day. Eating frequently, even in small amounts, keeps insulin elevated. The body never fully transitions into a low insulin state because it is always responding to new food intake. This creates a cycle where fat storage continues while fat burning gets delayed or reduced. Even meals that seem balanced or healthy can keep this cycle going if they are too close together. The simplicity of this process is often overlooked. People are told to focus on calories, portion sizes, and strict diet, but very little attention is given to how insulin behaves over time. Without that awareness, it becomes easy to follow routines that appear correct but still limit results. The body responds more to hormonal signals than most people realize, and insulin plays a central role in shaping those responses. When insulin remains elevated from morning to night, the body rarely gets the signal to release stored fat. It stays in a pattern where energy is stored rather than used, slowing down progress even when effort stays high. This pattern repeats day after day, creating the feeling that weight loss is harder than it should be. Certain foods and habits push insulin higher and keep it there longer than most people expect. Sugar is one of the strongest triggers. It enters the bloodstream quickly and forces a rapid insulin response to bring blood sugar back under control. Processed carbohydrates act in a similar way. Foods made with refined flour or added sugars break down fast, leading to repeated spikes throughout the day. Even when these foods are eaten in small portions, the effect on insulin can still be significant because of how quickly they are absorbed. Frequent eating adds another layer to this pattern. Each time you eat, insulin rises again. When meals are spaced too closely together, the body does not get enough time for insulin levels to come down. This creates a continuous cycle where insulin stays elevated from morning to night. Snacking every few hours, which is often promoted as a healthy habit, can quietly maintain this state without people realizing it. The body keeps receiving signals to store energy, while the opportunity to switch into fat burning mode becomes limited. What makes this more challenging is that many snacks are considered healthy and are chosen with good intentions. Items like granola bars, fruit juices, flavored yogurts, or packaged low fat foods can still raise insulin because of their sugar content or how quickly they are digested. Even natural sugars can trigger a response when consumed frequently throughout the day. The label may look clean, but the internal effect on insulin can still slow down progress. Liquid calories also play a role in this cycle. Drinks that contain sugar or even certain smoothies can raise insulin quickly because they are absorbed faster than solid foods. This adds another spike without creating the same feeling of fullness, making it easier to consume them more often. Over time, these small increases add up, keeping insulin active for longer periods. The pattern that forms is subtle but consistent. Sugar, processed carbohydrates, and frequent eating work together to keep insulin elevated. The body stays in a state where storing energy becomes the default response, while fat burning remains limited. This cycle continues throughout the day, shaped by habits that often seem normal and even recommended. The approach that changes everything is surprisingly simple once it becomes clear. Give your body time without constant insulin spikes so it can move through its natural cycle. This means stepping away from the habit of eating all the time and allowing space between meals. When you stop constant eating, insulin no longer stays elevated throughout the entire day. It begins to rise when you eat and then gradually fall when you do not. creating a rhythm that your body can work with instead of against. Creating gaps between meals is where this shift starts to take shape. Instead of adding more snacks, you begin to rely on full, satisfying meals and then allow a period where your body rests from food. During that time, insulin levels slowly come down and your body starts to look for stored energy. This is when fat burning becomes more active. It is not about forcing the body or pushing it into extremes. It is about giving it the opportunity to do what it is already designed to do when the conditions are right. At first, this change can feel different because it breaks a routine that many people follow without thinking. Eating every few hours becomes a habit, and stepping away from that pattern requires awareness. As those gaps become consistent, your body begins to adapt. Hunger signals start to feel more stable, and energy levels become more even because your body is learning to access stored fuel instead of relying only on constant food intake. The quality of meals also plays a role in making this process easier. When meals are balanced and filling, it becomes more natural to go longer without needing to eat again. This reduces the urge to snack and helps maintain the space needed for insulin to come down. Over time, this pattern creates a smoother flow between eating and fasting periods, allowing your body to shift more easily into fat burning mode. This simple adjustment does not depend on strict rules or complicated systems. It builds on timing and consistency, giving your body the conditions it needs to lower insulin and use stored energy more effectively. As those gaps between meals become a regular part of your day, the internal signals begin to change, guiding your body toward a different way of managing energy. At this point, a different perspective starts to take shape. The struggle has never been only about eating less or trying to force results through restriction. The real shift comes from understanding what is happening inside your body and how those internal signals guide every outcome. When insulin stays elevated, the body continues to store energy even when food intake is reduced. That is why cutting calories alone often leads to slow progress or stalled results. It creates effort on the outside while the internal system continues to work in the opposite direction. This is where the focus begins to change. Instead of thinking about how much to eat, attention moves toward how the body responds to when and how often you eat. Controlling insulin becomes the central idea because it directly influences whether your body stores fat or uses it. Each decision throughout the day, from meal timing to food choices, plays a role in shaping that response. The process becomes less about restriction and more about alignment with how the body naturally functions. As this understanding grows, many of the old frustrations begin to make sense. The repeated cycles of starting strong and then losing momentum are no longer confusing. They are connected to patterns that kept insulin elevated without you realizing it. Once those patterns are adjusted, the experience begins to feel different. The body no longer resists in the same way because the signals it receives have changed. This shift does not rely on extreme discipline or constant pressure. It builds on small changes that influence insulin levels over time. When those changes become consistent, the body starts to respond in a more predictable way. Energy use begins to shift, and stored fat becomes more accessible. The process starts to feel less like a battle and more like a system that is finally working in your favor. With this new approach, weight loss becomes less about fighting against your body and more about guiding it in the right direction. The focus on insulin creates a clearer path where each step supports the next, and the results begin to reflect the effort in a more direct and steady way. The next step is to turn this understanding into simple actions that fit into daily life without adding complexity. Start with choosing real food as much as possible, meals that are close to their natural form and less altered by processing. These foods are digested more steadily, creating a more controlled insulin response compared to highly processed options that enter the system quickly and trigger sharper spikes. When meals are built around whole ingredients, they tend to be more satisfying, which makes it easier to stay full for longer periods without feeling the need to eat again soon after. Another important shift is moving away from constant snacking. Each small bite may seem harmless, but it still triggers insulin and keeps it elevated. When snacking becomes frequent, it prevents the body from lowering insulin and switching into a state where stored energy can be used. Reducing these in between meals creates space for insulin to rise and fall naturally, allowing the body to move through its normal cycle instead of staying in a constant storage mode. Focusing on full meals helps support this process in a practical way. Eating a proper meal that includes balanced nutrients provides enough energy and satisfaction, making it easier to step away from food afterward. Once the meal is finished, the goal is to stop and allow your body to begin processing what it has received. This pause becomes just as important as the meal itself because it gives insulin the time it needs to gradually come down. As these gaps between meals become more consistent, your body begins to adjust. Hunger signals start to feel more predictable, and the urge to snack reduces over time. This creates a smoother rhythm throughout the day where eating and resting periods are clearly defined. During those resting periods, the body shifts toward using stored energy, supporting the fat burning process without requiring additional effort. Giving your body time to rest from food is a key part of this approach. It is during these breaks that insulin levels drop and internal processes begin to change. This pattern builds gradually, shaped by simple choices that align with how your body naturally manages energy. So the reason you could not lose weight all this time starts to look very different now. It was never about a lack of effort or discipline. It was never about trying harder or eating less and less every day. The real issue was happening quietly inside your body, where insulin stayed elevated and kept you stuck in a cycle that blocked fat burning. All those moments where you felt frustrated, confused, or even blamed yourself begin to connect in a new way. Your body was following signals, and those signals were keeping you in storage mode. Once that becomes clear, everything you have seen in this video starts to fit together. The slow progress, the sudden plateaus, the feeling that something is missing even when you are doing your best, it all comes back to how insulin was being triggered again and again throughout the day. And now, with a small shift in how you approach food and timing, your body can finally move in a different direction. A direction where effort matches results and where fat burning becomes a natural response instead of a constant struggle. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these habits are you doing right now in your daily routine? Share your answer in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who feels stuck just like you did. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for simple health tips that actually work.